Hello and welcome. Today's date comes in that of Thursday, 30th day of January 2020. My name is Derek and this is the Money Charts channel. Like we're always risk-reward management. Well, it's your own risk-reward for anything you do. And for me, risk-reward management is job number one. So I guess I said this a little bit different. But let's start off here within Bitcoin and correctionary phase. Successful correction versus a failing one. It's the same each time almost. From this low, we have this come up here and do this. You could almost say it's the same as this. Then it has its leg higher. We'll call it this as a leg higher. And then it comes back to correctionary phase. You can see how this breaks down below the lows and then later resisting it, and well, there's your move lower. And in this case, we had a set spot where we supported it. We resist the 18 average of highs, come back down for a second test in today's session. And oh boy, are we breaking through as it is up against Bitcoin, 12 2/3%. But more importantly, getting above this little band of resistance. And again, even importantly as well, the excitation of the 18 from what is that of a successful correctionary move. On the 2-hour term time frame, the price action got going. Actually, no, on the 1-hour term time frame at 2 o'clock in the morning, the price got going as it broke down above, rather, from the 64 handle, right now at the 72, and has just not stopped yet. We've had a little bit of small correctionary moves. From the first move, we had 3 going sideways. We had a correctionary move at 9 o'clock in the morning. Then after reaching the high, at 11 o'clock, we had one period here at 12 o'clock, a price one, but still well above the 18 band. And then a pause of that move, an inside period. And how we follow this up with continuation of the bull run, retesting, barely piercing above these highs. 32 minutes left, so it's that inside period right now, still holding and still well extended from the 18 average. Just a tremendous break, to say the least. On the 3-day term time frame, the little case of there's your downtrend, there's your unsuccessful breakout here. But in this case, we had the price get above, go sideways a little bit, excitation of this. So to me, it looks like, and I know that little line is like whatever, but to me this looks like we got the potential to fill some of this empty space, and this empty space goes all the way up to about the 18 handle, or well better than 2x. And let me get a better Litecoin chart against Bitcoin, or one that's got longer data. So we'll use Poloniex, and there we can see just in the lower end of this weekly range and attempting to break above it. We've had the band flattening out, neutrality stage, and the upper end of this range could even go higher if it gets above, and it could make new highs depending on where we go from this. But will we bottom from here? I'd like to say yes, but I think the easiest way of saying yes is the probability odds that it does moving forward is a lot better compared to that of having the same polar significant down move. Now let's transition into this against the dollar, and it's up to a big Fibonacci point. I got a key fib level here at 68 1/4. That represents that would be 61.8% from this high and this low, or 38% going this way, whichever. It's one of the key numbers, and they've hit whatever in the past. So, but more importantly, outside of that level, we've had the downtrend, band sideways over the last couple of periods, so band flattening out, that stage has been in play. So now to stage 2, establishing the resistance levels, trying to get this into such of a bull market. The downtrend of this 18 has been in place, obviously, since the latter part of 2019. And the band is barely starting to rise because after the 2-period gain, it held it very nice with the previous period and breaking out quite nicely. Let's take a look at Bitcoin next. On the weekly chart, it's sideways band in here, breaking out or looking like it's attempting to me, this looks like a very good situation. Bull market, of course, now on this daily term time frame because it's doing what the definition of trend and higher highs and higher lows. And we can see multiple amounts of them now. Price actions above the 18 average of highs. It had 3 good consecutive days up, with yesterday being a good pause day. We were having further continued momentum, maybe day one of whatever the next little bit of a leg happens to be for the leg higher. As we can see in here, long term, if it's going to break out above, we got this previous high around 13,000 and then up above here at like 20. To me, 2020, this looks like a good year for precious metals and cryptocurrencies. And I'll transition into silver, thus of precious metals. On the 3-day chart, I got all these little lines in here, and they're doing its thing as they usually do, non-sarcastically speaking now. And it's got the nice little rise to it. It's from a down period. It's starting. It's not. It's doing better than pausing in there. It's having a little bit of momentum within it. But the daily chart is where this gets really interesting. We had this level of key support at about 1765 that it hit first on January the 14th, and then 3 consecutive days from the 21st to the 23rd, breaking down below this a few days ago. And right down to the 1740 fib mark, and just rejecting the sell-off immediately. Thus, the failed breakdown. It goes down below the key level support, and then it gets past that, and it has a significant move above it. Now, it's doing so, still not getting above the 18 average of high. So it's got to get above this 18.25 mark to even start to say that there's even, you can even start thinking about this thing having a good breakout moves. Keyword, start thinking about it. If we switch up to the single hour term time frame, this is where it gets really interesting. It's been that long ago, really. I guess there's a lot of hours in a day. I talked about, and really people say, oh, technical analysis doesn't work. I remember in school talking about just this recognize pattern recognition, and really that's all it is. It's pattern recognition and understanding the situation. Okay, downtrend, big, obvious. Downtrend moves into a correctionary solid state. Most certainly, we can see the sideways range. And then a clear break of such. We can see that was the case in this period here. It was 0.54%. And then how it reacts to it after the fact. And this is what this next period shows us. It showed that it didn't reject the rally, at least not immediately, not within that period. That just because it doesn't reject the first one doesn't mean it's good to go. It's 100% that the bullish play was there. But as I stated in the video yesterday, the probability odds that over the next few periods that we fill empty space to the upside, well, it's probably pretty good, and we can see that's exactly what it did. It's recently had a very good correctionary phase now the other way, down to an 18 average of lows. If it succeeds this and it gets above the highs, you see it like 1793, 95, starting to rally higher. Well, this baby's ready to get going again for more legs higher. And then if it doesn't, if this thing ends up failing, then you start talking about filling the empty space now from this low to this high, and where the 18 average would be more relevant on a longer term time frame, like the 3 hour. Oh, it's just rising like that. And we can see, oh, it's got to hold this area where it came from as a must hold. There's been a lot of volatility, of course, within these silver markets. See, gold's a little bit different on the daily chart. Let's take a look at that. And the way it's holding the 18 average of highs amongst the daily time frame from its last high, the January 8th day, it's correcting this magnificently. And it's doing it above this key Fibonacci point, supporting this area of resistance. In fact, it hasn't even came back to fib of 1522. And this move wasn't able to do it. It got up to 1612 and only retraces down to 1537. That's why I talked about this entire run from the late August highs to the start of December lows. That it didn't really fill any of this empty space, barely much at all, in a noticeable downtrend. And that's That's remarkable. You could say that that's the case. And so now it breaks the resistance. It's had this move. It's holding and staying above it. The potential for this moving forward to me is pretty remarkable. Now, what I'd like to do with this, I wish there was an easy way where I could say, oh, do you know what I want to do? I want to take a look at the hourly time frame, but I want to take a look at that 18 average of highs on the daily while looking at it on the hourly. So in order for me to take a look at it, because I think it would be pretty cool to see, I already drew that in on a different exchange. And it's the gold futures, and I've already drawn this line in here. And I'll just draw over whatever I want to look at. In this case, it's the 18 high on the daily. So if I go to the hourly term time frame, and it's not going to extend any further, but we can see that from this high on that, well, 7th of January, apparently from this, it at first was supporting that area. It had an attempt to break higher, and it really didn't go too much at all because the empty space from the low to this high, well, it only got up to like 1563, so it had a lackluster rally. And then failing and resisting amongst here. But after making this low, making what has been series of higher highs and higher lows and much resistance at first here, resisting it here for a bit of periods at this point, then again here, small failed breakout, small fast move lower, and then resisting it for a bit more. Nice, clear, concise breakout last week, January 24th. And it has held and stayed above the 18 average of highs on the daily because, yeah, it went below it here, but I mean, all it did was go to this low and, well, obviously just this little bit of time below it, resisting it just one time, almost supporting it a few periods ago, 9 o'clock this morning. And it's coming close right now to supporting it again because technically it's still noticeably above in that area. But when we have stuff like this, correctionary phase, you can also look at how long of an event it's been from this high. Yes, it's making higher lows, but it hasn't been magnificent as far as rebuilding the trend. You can see how great of a rate of ascent we've had from the 16th to this high, and we've had a rate of ascent from the 13th. And that's just the easiest way to say it. We've had it. There's nothing, it's just that. It's nothing good. It's just there. And rate of ascent's better than neutrality as far as bullish, bearish versus neutral. I mean, it's up. And therefore, if it gets going, well, it could, but it could very easily at any time break down below, fill these points in here. And if it does, so be it. This is also like short-term type of mumbo jumbo and all that kind of stuff. It's just that. Now, weekly time frame, all these long-term for gold, the setup here to me is just fantastic. Key low, key high. And we can see here the pattern of these lows. The lows of around 2016-17, this higher low here, this higher low. Now we're finally getting to highs we haven't seen since it was just breaking down from the upper end of its last support area. Thus, just like, again, here, empty space from this low to this high. It didn't retrace much. Of course, when you look at this on a linear scale, it would look like that. And, a little bit different, but that's a log versus a linear scaling. And then the monthly chart gets really sick to me here, how bullish this setup is. This is why when I think, how bullish can gold, silver, and cryptos be? Well, the charts tell me that pretty darn near probable. And it's not a shocker if it does. And since it's gotten above this resistance, a huge, major sideways consolidation. Inverted head and shoulders, if you want to call it that. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, neckline break. And it's been just transpiring well amongst that move. We're in the process of a concise leg higher right now. That's what the market's doing. It's in breakout stage. It's above the 18 highs. Within the trend, of course, we had this sideways stuff in here, like 3 quarters or 3 months doing this, and well, now it's just continuing its breakout phase. This month is bullish. 2 green candles in a row. We're above previous high. We are at highs not seen since like around 2013, 7-year highs. And then we're going to be talking about all-time highs that are close to a decade in length. And then after that, it's all-time highs. And a lot of gold's already in all-time highs in other currencies, and almost everyone, if not all, but the U.S. or maybe a couple others. For against the Canadian fiat, Its high back in 2011 was, well, almost 1900. A little below. US was a little above. 1920, this was like 1880 or 1890, whatever. 1900, we'll call it. Well, now it's 2077. And just like the US chart, you have the nice little break, exitation of the 18 back in May. So 4 periods of this going sideways, and it's just having the complete exitation, has clearly broken out above its previous resistance. So the all-time highs that we're looking at the last day, the day that it would come in, well, on January the 8th, it got up to 2095. Today, it got up to 2097 earlier. So today is the day of all-time highs in Canada. I didn't know that until today. Chances that it will stay as today for the rest of the year, not so good. Heck, by February is probably going to be multiple more days that'll be higher. After all, gold is in a powerful uptrend. Market's going to play as it's going to play. And thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.